Okay, so it's nearly midnight, so you know what that means. We're going to do some game making. Yeah, probably not a good idea. I should probably go to bed, but I'm going to just sort of walk you through the steps. I'm not really a professional or anything. I'm just some guy that likes to muck around with things. So, without further ado, we got sprites here, which is so you open up Gamemaker Studio, and you've got the sprites here. This here is like your images. We've got sounds, backgrounds, paths. I never use them really. Scripts I do use occasionally. Shaders, don't use that. Fonts, sometimes I use fonts. Timelines, don't really use those. Objects, rooms, and then you've got included files, extensions, and macros. So I don't really use any of these, but I do use rooms, objects, sometimes fonts, scripts, backgrounds, sounds, and sprites. So these are the ones we'll be concentrating on today. So we're going to try and do a platform game. So we want to just do the basics here. So we'll go to sprites. We're going to click it with our right mouse button, go to create sprite, and it'll pop up with this window here. And then all we're going to do is it's important to name things in a certain way, or else later on it becomes a bit of a pain in the butt. So sprites, I usually put SPR and then underscore before I write like what it's going to be. So I put SPR underscore underscore block. Okay, so this is just going to be a block, and we go to edit sprite. We just go to file, new, and it can just make it as 32 by 32. Yeah, why not? Okay, so that's good. That's the shape, but it's still in like not drawn yet. So we need to zoom in. We don't need to zoom in actually. We could just get the fill tool and just fill that. And it should be a black square now. So that's cool. So now that's done, we can just get out of that. Objects, these are what this is where you put your code and things for whatever the sprite is. So if we go to add an object, create new object. So for object, the naming convention I use, I think many people use, is obj and then underscore, and then you just put block. So we know it's an object and we know it's a sprite. Otherwise, if you just put block, it won't know what you're talking about, and it'll pull the sprite when it's supposed to be the object, and or vice versa, and it just makes Gamemaker go, what the heck? So yeah, it's important. So now we can choose the sprite to represent the object. So we're going to go sprite block. Done. Right. And we want it solid as well. Right, so we got a block done. That's cool. Going to go to rooms, click at the right mouse button, go to create room. Now by default it should be okay. It saved the settings from my last game. So usually it's 640 by 480. I think we'll start off with that. It's not high definition, but this is the default sort of size room, just to test things and see if it will work. So we're gonna so we go to objects and we go to select the object here, and you can just place it anywhere in the room. And if you want, you can hold down we'll get rid of them. You can get rid of them by pressing the shift and the the right mouse button. So if you press Control and Shift and then click the left mouse button, you can just stretch it all over to the edges of the screen. So alright, so that's cool. Might as well do them up the sides as well, just for fun. get rid of him. Okay. So this is our room. So this is where everything goes down. This is where you can, where your game is basically. So we've added our object. Now we can just click next, and then we go to sprites again. We haven't got a character yet, do we? So we'll get onto that. So click the right mouse button, go to create sprite. So we put SPR underscore player this time. And we go edit sprite. And then we're going to go new. This time I kind of want the sprite a bit taller, so we want it to be, we'll put 64. So it's like twice the length of a block. So I thought that was the best way of doing it. And this, you can click this to show the preview. At the moment it's nothing, it's just a background because we haven't drawn it in yet. So to make it, we'll make it a green block because that's us. It's a bit bright. It kind of, yeah, oh well, we'll keep it that way. Actually, I might make it a little bit darker because it's a little bit hard on the eyes, isn't it? Okay, so then we go next, and then we go okay, and then we just, this is our sprite now that represents our player. See, it's not all about pretty looking graphics and things yet. You just want to get the basic engine down for a platform game. So we're going to create an object, and this one is going to be, you guessed it, OBJ player. And we're going to call the sprite from the sprite folder SPR player, and then that is the player done. Okay, so we have it here now. We've got everything here. So to the only thing we haven't done is added the player into the room. So we'll have the player here. Put him in right there in the middle of the screen, or her, doesn't matter what you want to call it. It's just a block at the stage. So we want to pretty much set gravity and stuff now to so the character can jump. We're not going to worry about moving left or right yet. I just think like jumping would be a simple simpler thing to do. So go to scripts, create new script, and then we're going to just rename it movement underscore P1. Okay, so there it is there. We'll just create that. We'll call that later, and we can type in what we want later. But first you want to double click on player in the object menu, and then go right and go add event. Now see all these. Create is when the object is created. Destroy is when the object is destroyed. Alarm is like a certain timer that you can have on it. I never really use these. I set my own sort of weird timers. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I just do what I think looks right or feels right when you're playing the game. So step is basically constantly checking something. So if you want, say, checking to see whether the player's on the ground, you would probably put that under a step menu. So our script here is going to be under step because we want to be constantly checking what state our character's in. If they're on the ground, if they're in the air, if they're falling, if they're climbing, that sort of stuff. So it's important to have begin step. I don't really use that. It's the beginning of every step and the end of every step. I just find steps the one I usually use. So yeah, never really use these two. Collision. This is if it collides with with another object. It's a little more technical than just going, oh yeah, collision with block done. But I'll get to that later. So keyboard, this is constantly checking the keyboard keys, whereas keyboard, not key press, is just checking the press, like if you've pressed it or not. And key release is if you have released the key or not. So yeah, and of course mouse is just, mouse speaks for itself. Basically the mouse buttons. You would also use these if you're going to be using a if you're doing a touchscreen game for Android or whatever. This here is other, so these are kind of handy. It's like when the game starts, you can load the game, or you can, when the game ends, you can save it, or when the room starts. So our room that we've got over here. So we want something to happen when the room starts. Yeah, there's just heaps of different stuff, and it's a little bit overwhelming, I know, but you just you get a feel for it later on. It took me quite a few years to. Drawer. This is where I usually use, in the drawer one, I usually use that to, change the animation of the sprite. I usually heavily rely on this. Drawer GUI, which is like health and stuff on the screen. It's easier to use that than it is to just try and draw it wherever wherever you go. But yeah, I mainly just, I just usually just use drawer. These I never use. So anyway, what we want after all that is go to create, and then we want to go to control, and then there's a code here. Click that right with the right mouse button, and you can type in what do we want to type in? So to get a character to jump, I guess, well, we'll set these variables for now anyway. So I'm going to go global.r equals 0, global.l equals 0, dot jump equals 0. Right, we'll just keep it at those for now. We can always add more later, but so this would be the right button, this would be the left button, and this is jump. So all of them are set to 0 by default when it first starts. So what you want to do here is go to add event again. Click right, go add event again, go to step, step again, and then there we go. So we've got the step event here. Now, instead of going to code, we're going to go to execute script. So click right. Now we're going to select our script that we made, movement P1, and then you go to the script over here, and then you double click it, and you should be able to type in, let's just make it fall for now and not have anything else happen. So I'll just go set gravity. So gravity equals 0.6. That's quite fast. You can have it lighter if you want it sort of more friendly, but I feel like gravity at 0.6 feels more like a Mega Man sort of gravity. Like, I quite like that, the rapid sort of being able to fall quickly and then jump quickly. I like that rather than just sort of lingering in the air for a while. But we'll get to that later. So for now, we'll just leave it at this. Okay, we'll run the game. So you hit this little green marker here, and it runs the game. So that code should run. It should just say that it's going to set the gravity to 0.6 from the get-go. Whoa, and it falls off the screen. So that is cool, but it doesn't stand on the ground. It falls right through. So how do we fix that? So double click on this again. Okay, so that's the gravity there. So we want to go there, type in if, and then put an exclamation mark before. Actually, no, I won't for now. Just go place meeting x, y. So y is down and up, and x is left and right. So always remember that. So if we go y minus 1, that is above the character. Currently is saying if there's an object above the character. If you go y plus 1, then that means that whatever's underneath the character, because y is always up and down. Just think of y go up when x goes across. Just think of that. Y go up when x goes across. So yeah. Now we got x, so of course x plus would be to the right, and x minus, you guessed it, is to the left. So that's cool. But we want it to be checking if something's underneath the sprite, or else, well, under the object, I should say. So if it isn't, like if there isn't anything, then it'll set the gravity to 0.6. So we go plus 1, and now we do another comma, and now we get to do the object. So it's checking to see if there's an object underneath. So what object would it be? obj underscore block. That's right. And you put a closing bracket on there. Don't forget about your closing brackets, or it'll do it, have an error thing done to here. I think Gamemaker Studio 2 is kind of the same. It's slightly different, the setup, but yeah, just thought I'd show you this. Anyway, I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert, but yeah. Alright, so we want to press enter there. Now there's these wiggly brackets here. If you press shift and then press the square bracket, open square bracket, it'll do that. And now you got to do another one underneath closing. So that works. Now it's a good habit to press the semicolon after you've finished the code. So at the moment it's saying if there is a block underneath, then it'll set the gravity to 0.6. That's not what we want. We want it so the block, if the block isn't underneath. So to do a reversal, you just do an exclamation mark at the start. That's what I was going to get into before, but I slightly changed my mind. So yeah, always put an exclamation mark if you want it to do the opposite of place meeting. So yeah, if it's not there, then it will set this. But this still won't work. This still won't make your character land on the ground. All it is doing is setting the gravity to 0.6 if there is nothing underneath them. So how do we make it so it lands on the ground? So you go press enter, you use tab, go else. So if it is not underneath him, set the gravity to 0.6, or else if this time we're going to go place meeting, we're not going to put the exclamation mark because we want it to actually check if it's underneath them or not. So y plus 1, and then go obj block, closing bracket, press enter, go underneath, and then we go opening square bracket and then closing square bracket, semicolon. So here what you can do in these, like between the brackets, press tab so it stands out a bit more. It just makes it a little bit easier to read, but yeah. Sorry if it's overwhelming, but you'll get used to it. If you really are interested in making games, you'll stick it through and figure it out. So right, so now we've got to set gravity to 0. So now it's going to, because this is in the step event, this script, it is going to run through at a rapid rate and check if the character is on top of this block or not, or whether it's not. Yeah, so if we click play now, it still won't work. And I'll tell you why. Yep, still falls through. So what you'll want to do is go into your player, click on with the right mouse button, go to add event, collision. We talked about this earlier. So we don't want player to collide with player. That would just be silly. Unless like later on you want to do that if you got a second player or something. But go to object block, and so this is if it collides with object block. we want it to execute a piece of code. Now this piece of code will set it so that your character can stand on the block. So we're going to go direction. Oh, actually no. We're going to go move contact. Oh, not contract. Contact. Position. Is that it? No, it's move. Oh, move contact. All. Oh yeah, that's it. No, move contact solid. That's it. Sorry. Opening bracket. Then we go direction. And then 12. I feel like I don't know why you put 12, to be honest. I think it's what you do, and it works. So just listen to what I say. So right, move contact solid, and then we're gonna go v speed equals 0. So this will set the vertical speed to 0 of the character falling, and it will move contact to the position. So let's try it out, see if it works. Hopefully it works. Okay, we have it. He successfully lands on the ground, but pressing a button won't do anything. None of the keys are working. What's going on? This isn't a game. So what you want to do is get out of it and tie his movement to a button. So we can go back into our script, just maximize it, type in do these double strikes here. Anything in the green doesn't mean, like, it means that it's not reading it. It's just like a title or a note that you can leave yourself. So you can instead of, if you write stuff that doesn't, it'll add as code, but if you put 2 strikes, you can just type whatever you want, and it's really handy. So you can leave notes, be like, this area needs fixed. So just leave that. And if you got a development team, it's kind of handy to do that if you're shooting files back and forth. So we're just going to call this one movement. So right, global dot r, the variable we got that created with the character, equals keyboard check vk, you put a bracket and you put vk underscore, right, closing bracket. So global dot l equals keyboard check vk vk left. All right, and for some reason I'm just going to show you, because not all keyboard keys have a VK, so the letters and stuff that on your keyboard are ORD. So I'll show you how to write that. We're going to make the letter Z our jump key. So I'm going to go global dot jump equals keyboard check ORD, and then you do another opening bracket. We do a speech mark thing, and then do Z, capital Z, or Z, however you say it, and then you do another speech mark, closing bracket, closing bracket. Okay, so now these keys are all set. So these letters here are all set to these keys, and you can change them later on if you want to. It makes it so much easier if you're going to do custom controls. So you can just be like, okay, when you press this key in the custom control setting, it'll set R to this. So it's really handy having a variable for your keys. So we go down, and now since the keys are set, we can type in if, I'll just put 2 green things there and go jump. Now we type in if place meeting opening bracket x comma y comma obj block, and then closing bracket, and then so square bracket square bracket. Okay, so if place meeting block, now we want it to be underneath, don't we? So +1 and global dot jump equals 1, v speed equals -12. Okay, let's try that. So okay, I'll explain everything here. So whenever from the get-go, so we've got set gravity. If there isn't a collision with block underneath the player, then it'll set gravity to 0.6. So if there's nothing underneath him, it'll set the gravity to 0.6. So he falls at 0.6. At the speed of 0.6, I should say. Or else, if there is something underneath the character, then it'll set gravity to 0. So something solid. If there's something solid underneath them, which we've set as block, then it'll set it to 0 gravity. So movement, alright, so this is just setting the keys. So global.r that we've got in the create, so we go back to our player, we've got the create menu here. Remember we created these? So set them to 0 to start with. That's just what you do. And then once they've set to 0, you can set them to whatever the hell you want. So that's cool. And then, so whenever you press right, it'll set R to 1. Whenever you release right, it'll set R to 0. So that's just the genius behind that. Okay, it's really handy to use. And so jump, now I've got if the block is underneath him, the character, and you got global.jump is equal to 1. So if you're pressing the Z key, then it will set gravity to -12. You're probably like, well, what happens then? Because you've set it to -12, you're just going to keep floating up. Well, no, because we've got this here, and that will save us. The character will set the gravity to 0.6 and then fall. So let's give it a shot. Fingers crossed it works, so I don't look like a big idiot. Okay, and now I'm pressing the Z key now. Yep, and it works. Cool. How cool is that? So now we've got a character jumping. I know it's only just a block jumping in the middle of nowhere, but this is how it all starts. You do it layer by layer. Like building a house, you got the foundation first, and then you eventually get to the decorating inside and stuff, making it look all pretty. And that's what we'll get to. So at the moment, when I press the escape key, it doesn't do anything. It's really frustrating. So I'm just going to create a, you have to go to this closing X at the top. It's kind of annoying. So I'm just going to set a new object, call it obj settings, I guess. Okay, and it's not gonna have a sprite to represent it. So if we go into room, we can actually place this by going to objects, going to settings here, and then just placing it wherever. I just place it in the upper left corner usually, because you don't see it. It's, yeah, it looks like a weird little ball thing with a question mark on it. But the good thing about that is no one can see it. There's a lot of invisible stuff that you don't actually see in games. like collision blocks, which I'll get to. So this here is the size of our sprite. Our character might be smaller than this, but this is the collision block that we want, like, associated with him or her. So yeah. So now we've got that. Oh yes, we've got go to OBJ settings, and I wanted to do it so when you press the escape key, so add event. I'm just going to go keyboard. Others. Oh yeah, that's it there. Escape, and we're just going to go to main 2, and then go to this one here, which is in game. So done. Right. And you're probably thinking, why can't you just do your key settings through this? Well, you can, but it's a lot, like, I mean, it might be a bit easier for you at first. You can do it whichever way you want. Like, if you do it like this, so you can be like, okay, left, keyboard, right. If you wanted to do it that way, you could, but it's just confusing. Like, it might be confusing for you. I don't know. Well, whichever way you find easiest, just go for it. But yeah, you can't go wrong if you just stick to this for now. So I'm trying to make a fairly solid engine. It's not going to be like perfect, but it's going to be something that you can use. So yeah, now we've got the escape button, so I don't have to go to the X anymore. I should just be able to press the escape key and it should just exit the game. So hit escape and it's gone. There we go. Cool bananas. Right, so now we want to go back into this because we can jump, but we can't. We can jump, but we can't move. So let's just run it again. So the left and right arrows don't do nothing. The jump key does. Okay, cool. You can set your jump key to space if you want to. VK space is another thing you can set it to, if you, depending on whichever one feels better for you. If you're just doing like a left and right and jump keys, that's all you need, then like that's, it's a good way to start, just having space as a jump key. But I usually use Z and X, so Z being jump and X being attack. So yeah. Right. So we want to do movement still. I'm just going to put like a line of green marks here, and then I'm going to just go enter. I'm going to go right. Put another 2. Put moving right. Oh, I'll put it right in capitals. Okay. All right. So we want to go if global.r is equal to 1, and we're going to go exclamation mark, go place underscore meeting, open bracket x. Now, because we're moving right, and x plus 1 is right, x minus 1 is left. So we want to go x plus 1, which is checking to the right if there's an object that isn't at the right, and then go y, and then go obj block, closing bracket. So if you're pressing the right key and there is not an object and one pixel to the right of the sprite, then set open bracket, closing bracket. Okay. X plus equals 4. Okay, so 4 is the speed our character's going to move in, so you probably want to check more than that many pixels. So, screw it, we'll just go make it move the speed of 1 for now. So yeah, if there is not a block at that position, it'll move to that position. So, and if not, then it should just not move. So it's going to move very slowly. You'll probably barely even notice it moving. So, okay, now we're pressing right now. So yeah, it's moving very slowly. So press, let go, press, let go, press, let go. So it's moving very slowly. Now, we're going to select all of this, copy it, enter, paste, enter, paste, enter, paste. So this is how I do it. There's probably way easier ways of doing this, but this is just how I do it because it works for my brain this way. So we're only checking 1, and then we're going to check 2 pixels for this one, 3 pixels, 4 pixels. So this should get a pixel perfect collision depending on the speed you're moving at. So if this one's okay, then it'll move 1. If this one's okay, then it'll move another one on top of this one, so it'll move the speed of 2. So when it's moving the speed of 2, it'll ask in this code, can it move the speed of 3? Yes, it can. So if this is still not colliding, so it should work. Now I want to just select all of this, copy it. You're going to copy and paste your own work a lot because it saves writing it all out so many times. So press enter, paste, and change this one to left. Right, this key here needs to be changed to an L. Okay, so we've successfully changed it as an L, but it's still checking to the right, so we want to change all these pluses to minuses. Honestly, this is the quickest way you can do this. Now, this here is still going to the right. The character is going to move to the right even though it's checking left. So we want to change that to minus. Cool. So yeah, that's all the left ones sorted. Awesome. So now it should move right and it should move left. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but this works for me. So let's run the game and see how it works. So now you should be able to move left and right, and it will go right to the edge of the map, and it goes to a pixel perfect collision with whatever's there. So it's really handy. There's probably better ways of writing it, like I said, that take up less memory, but these days, I mean, it's not really that bad. Computers can handle anything, but I know it's probably not the right attitude, but like I said, it works for me. So you can move left or right, and you can jump. You can move while you're in the air like that, and it should still collide with the wall and not get stuck. Because getting stuck is bad. We do not want to get stuck. Cool, huh? It's pretty cool. And you can also have it so if you're not like pressing the jump button, you can fall faster and things like that. We can actually add like more gravity if you really wanted to. It's up to you. So we've got the basics of a platformer here. We've just got movement and jump, and it's only been, I don't know how long it's been, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Just the basics of how to do a platform game. I'll do another chapter if people are interested, but if not, then, we'll see. All right, see you later.